So we got this. I was playing with my friend. We were in the final battle, and we got to the point where I would stand at the Game Genie at the ready. So whenever the enemy was attacking, he would say, "Come on, turn it off, turn it on, or turn it on, turn it on." And I would do that, and then it was very epic and actually kind of boring now that I'm talking about it. So someone say something else.
My all-time favorite Game Genie code that I discovered, because you could create your own Game Genie codes, was the one in the original Super Mario Brothers where jumping killed you. Boy, did that make the game interesting.
Turns it into about a 4-second game.
3.5.
Remember on the N64 with Game Shark, it was really easy to create and edit your own codes. Like me and my friend would play Mario 64. There was a code called Limbo Mario where he would bend himself backwards and do the limbo whenever you ran. So we toyed around with the code until he just kept bending backward and backward and backward until his head was literally in his butt whenever he ran. It was really exciting.
I don't know if I've seen that, but I know I've seen a lot of hacks that make it weird. Like ROM hacks.
But yeah, cheating online, I think you're right. I think it's definitely an entirely different beast than cheating when you're just playing by yourself. Because like what's the point? What do you get out of a victory that you've earned by cheating? Like, why?
Because
what
you still
have you proven?
won.
It's the same kind of thing where with people trying to use hacks to get achievement points, or like to pay someone else to get achievements for them.
Yeah.
It seems so pointless to me. Like as we've discussed, I like achievements as much as the next guy, but like, what are you proving by paying someone $50 to go earn a bunch of achievements for you?
Yeah, which
is actually something that people do.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what? Do you not want to have fun with the game? Like, what's the point?
You are paying someone to play a video game for you.
Well, there are people who don't play games to have fun. There are people who play games to win, who play games to have those achievements.
But again, like...
Well, yeah, but how can you be proud about that?
Hey!
Where did you come from? We missed you.
Yes, I missed me too.
But yeah, if you
So anyway,
win, like, how have you won? That's not winning.
It is. You
That's
conquered
not
everyone else. You achieved your goal. It's winning.
But wait, your goal is specifically to win, not to do better than the other person.
So you've won by winning.
But like, why is just winning the goal though?
Because they're douchebags. Douchebags, they live by different rules. They live by the manual of douchebaggery. And number one is always win at all costs.
Seems pointless to me.
Yeah. So what did I miss?
We missed we've merged. Jetty, you missed me asking you.
We talked about achievements and cheat codes.
Thank you, Paul. And
I
was gonna ask you if you played any games that had achievements.
I don't play modern games.
That doesn't matter. Old games you can make achievements for old games. I've seen it.
I got the high score?
Yeah.
That's an achievement.
But it's not an achievement with a capital A though.
No.
See, that's the thing. I don't like game-specific achievements. I only like the ones with the capital A that tie into my Microsoft account or my PlayStation account. For some reason, if anything else, if I'm earning medals in a game or awards, it does not tap into the same part of my brain that Microsoft achievements does.
And actually, I would extend that to the PS3's achievements too. I don't care about the trophies. I don't care when it says you unlocked a trophy. I'm like, I don't care.
I like them, but I don't like them as much just because it's a little more difficult to see how many I have.
Yeah.
It doesn't just show up when I push the PlayStation button. I have to go into its menu, and then it takes like 20 minutes to sync.
Xbox just makes it easier to wave around your video game penis.
Are we talking about using the Kinect again?
It makes it easier in a great many ways.
So I didn't miss out on much?
No.
Objection!
We use your suggestions.
Yes, yeah.
Poorly, but we do.
I could probably dig up another Yahoo answer if anyone wants it.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I think we should have a Yahoo Answers section on every episode.
What did I
love
miss?
Yahoo Answers.
Well, here's the second one I got.
Okay.
All right, the topic, the title of this question, boring Gaz Problems, blah blah blah. And the question is this: I know this kid called Gaz, and my God, he is boring. All he plays is UT, Unreal Tournament, I guess, and Call of Duty. I really want to make him cool, but I don't know how to approach him, and I'm really scared, but I don't want him to get bullied anymore. Advice, please. Also, I can duplicate players.
What?
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 In what?
No idea.
There's so many questions that are spawned from that question.
I just like how it took such a depressing turn toward the end. It was like, he's super boring. Like, I thought it was kind of a humorous start, and at the end, I don't want him to get bullied anymore.
Oh.
He gets his ass kicked every day in school. And if only he would play more Call of Duty, that wouldn't be a problem.
And his name is Gaz?
His name is Gaz. Boring Gaz Problems, blah, blah, blah.
Actually, this post was secretly posted by Gaz himself. So I have this friend who's really boring, and this friend, he plays a lot of Unreal Tournament.
And there were a couple of responses. One of them was just one word, Halo. Which I'm not really sure how that solves the problem, because if he's already just playing your standard shooting games, how does playing another one help?
Yeah.
But also, two separate people responded saying something else, and I'm trying to figure out, is this like some kind of internet meme that I'm not aware of? Maybe you guys can help me with this. Both Charlie Ba and Brian Badonde responded with, Black Gary, Bob Lamb.
I have no idea.
Can someone please tell me what that means? Because two people independent of one another, apparently. Unless maybe they're all friends and that's some inside joke.
I just did a search for Black Gary Bablam, and it only brought up boring Gaz Problems, blah, blah, blah. So those two people are just linked at the brain, and they make no sense at all.
It's got to be some kind of inside joke, maybe. Like maybe one of these people are Gaz, or they all know Gaz. Maybe that's something Gaz says all the time.
Yeah, it's something they're making fun of their friend Gaz, who's in the same room.
Yeah.
Who else has a topic?
I have a topic.
All right.
The topic is, do we lower our standards with video games? Meaning, is what we consider to be a good comedic game the same thing we would consider to be a good comedic movie, or a good dramatic game, a good storyline, a dramatic game? If that was a movie, would we still think it was good, or even a book or something? All right, next.
Actually, it's bringing to mind, I think Stu Jip wrote about this on GameCola maybe a year or two ago. He was arguing that there is no such thing as video game humor, because what we consider humorous in video games, we would never actually consider humor if we were seeing it in a TV show or a movie.
Oh, did he? I was actually going to write something like that a year ago, but then I quit.
He did it already. Sorry.
Okay.
Which probably stuck in my mind most because he was specifically dissing Monkey Island and other classic adventure games.
And that's exactly...
Yeah.
I completely agree. Even Portal, which everyone says is just the greatest thing ever, so hilarious. Watch someone else play it as a movie. I mean, it's funny. You'll get a chuckle. But is it hilarious? No, not really.
Well, a lot of it's got to do with the fact that video games are situational, that you are in these situations and that these things are happening to you and that you control the pace of, in this instance, the humor, where you're the one who's playing an adventure game and trying to combine banana with cannonball and seeing the hilarious results. So it's because it's all under your control, because
we both laughed when Nathaniel said that. Also, sorry to interrupt. I just thought I'd point that out. No, that was the entire point.
No, interrupt me. Go ahead. I'm ready.
The entire point was just that me and Christian both burst out into chuckles when you mentioned the idea of combining a cannonball with a banana. So I think there's a fair point. Like that's something specifically, like very specific to adventure games like that. Clearly wouldn't work in a TV show because it's not how TV shows work. They don't. Well, I guess there's MacGyver.
That is funny. Well, comedy aside, comedy is kind of unfair to compare to video games because comedy's all about timing, and you just don't have that in video games. But even drama, even dramatic stories, they'd probably just look goofy and hokey in a movie.
I think that was one of the internet's big complaints about Heavy Rain was, yeah, sure, it's a good story for a video game, but compare it to any well-written movie, and it kind of falls apart pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's two parts to this. The first part is that we also haven't been looking at the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to movies, because there is some incredibly lowbrow humor,
Wait, there are bad movies?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And things that would make any video game, regardless of the plot or humor level, look like comic gold.
Oh,
Well,
and
it's probably fair to say that the best story in the best video game is probably a lot better than the worst story in the worst movie.
sure, but if you look at the best story in the best video game, it may not hold up to the best movie.
Yeah.
And that's also because of the situational aspect of it. That's because you control it, and there needs to be that interactive bit, in my mind, for it to qualify as a game. If all you have are cutscenes, then it's really no different than a movie. Part of what gives the movies the advantage is that you've got acting, and not just voice acting, but you've got facial expressions. You're not just having people stand there and sort of wave their arms around. And I know that, what was it, L.A. System
L.A. Noir.
PD thing, yeah, that one, Noir, has facial expressions, which I'm sure will be a great step forward in storytelling, because that's part of acting right there. It isn't just standing and waving your arms around in circles like, Stan the salesman from Monkey Island all day long. That's not
The example I was thinking of, too.
I was actually going to bring up the whole acting deal, and that I guess perhaps video games could be more compared to books, although at this point, like if you were to get back far enough in video games, that video games with stories basically were just books, like old RPGs, then actually video games have horrible stories, and they don't compare to books at all, and books are far superior.
Yeah, you could say the same thing comparing books to movies, though.
Could you?
Well, don't books... Well, again, the best book has a better story than the best movie, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
But
the best movie... The best
Well, you have
story-driven movie probably has a better story than the best story-driven game.
It's also the medium, because books have strictly your imagination to work with, whereas movies, you can imagine that the special effect is cooler than it really is, but there's a very large visual and audio aspect in addition to just the general content, the plot, the actors, there's so many aspects of a movie, and there's even more aspects of a video game, because you've also got the gameplay, you've got the controls, you've got the pacing, you've got the challenge level difficulty, you've got all of these other things to focus on, that it's a different experience to have a thoroughly satisfying movie or book than it is to have a thoroughly satisfying video game. And a plot only makes up a small or medium portion of any game.
True.
Your princess is in another castle.
Great plot line.
It's certainly arguable that it's a lot easier to have a good video game without a good story than it is for a movie or a book.
Well,
Yeah.
you just have a lot of things blow up.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the book. That would be hazardous to your hands. Just blow up.
Yeah, that's why I liked Live Free or Die Hard. Lots of explosions in that movie. That was great.
And it's also that we haven't... Video games started out as games, as challenges. You're playing Pong, you're playing Asteroids, you're playing Breakout. These aren't things that have a strong storyline, whereas books, from the get-go, if you're talking about a standard novel, if you don't have a story or characters, unless you're doing something very unique, you're probably not going to go anywhere.
I mean,
It's not gonna be
they kind of inherently need to have a story in order to be enjoyable.
If you look at the progression of video games, they've been getting story heavier, they've been getting more interesting and more complex in the storylines as time has gone on, for the most part. Not necessarily all across the board, but in general, the maximum amount of story-age has been increasing, and I can only imagine that will continue to